Previously, on our other channel, The Epic Car Show, me and my cousin Matt were challenged to find a luxury car for £250, but we didn't get far. However, I did come across this gem, which had been abandoned for the last 7 years, as the owner went into a nursing home, and it's actually had 25,000 miles on it, so there was potential to bring it back to its best. So, this Skoda was covered top to bottom in dust, and it was an exciting one for me because I had a good feeling that all that dust had kind of preserved it, so I was quietly confident to get good results from this one. Easy. Why did I get a garage with such a small door? With the Skoda back at the studio, I could get cracking on getting it empty, so I had a blank canvas to work on. And this was the first time ever using Mile Deep products, so I was curious to see how this relatively new brand would hold up against a dirty Skoda. With the shampoo in the bucket, I was ready, and I got started with their citrus pre-wash, which is a colourless product, which is a first for me. And I went in with a 5:1 dilution, as it wasn't heavy soiling, but I just wanted to start off by removing some of that top layer of muck before I got into the brushing. After the rinse off, I broke out the fallout remover, which as you can see is quite effective in this footage as it started to turn purple. And for this product you don't need to dilute it as it's all ready to go. But just a word of warning, with all fallout removers for that matter, you will get a horrible nasty smell which will linger all on your clothes, so don't go wearing anything nice. I carried on with all the other wheels and arches with the same process, but then I followed it up with their pH neutral snow foam just to get deep into the areas that I may have missed. And to be honest, this foam was highly stable. I mean, it sat on there a lot longer than I expected, and considering it was a pH neutral snow foam, which is not something I normally go for, it did a fairly good job. Once the foam was rinsed off, I then jumped onto the petrol cap and the door shuts, and I reverted back to the citrus pre-wash again, and for older cars I tend not to worry too much about the splashing inside. Next up it was the engine bay, and because we paid so little for this car I didn't want to go too mad. In fact, I just gave it a snow foam and a brush followed by a rinse, and it was plenty good enough. The brush I'm using is from Valet Pro, and this one had longer medium stiffness bristles which were good enough to get down all those grooves. However, with engine bay cleaning you will need loads of different brushes if you want to get the best out of it, and I have plenty of guides on my channel. I then jumped onto the bodywork with more snow foam, and honestly I love this one. I had direct sunlight on the car and it didn't dry out either. And bearing in mind this video was filmed towards the end of August, we still had fairly mild weather. Next up it was time to use their shampoo called Cleanse, which was also pH neutral. And for those who wonder why many people use pH neutral over alkaline products, well truthfully it just means they're safer and kinder to your car, so there's less risk involved. So in other words, you're less likely to get stains on things like chrome trim if you've got a pH neutral product. With the Arva P57 set to the widest fan setting, it was just a case of rinsing off all the bubbles. And speaking of Arva, they have some pretty cool things happening next year, so you'll be one of the very first to hear about it in early 2024 just by subscribing to this channel. Once I parked up and dried the car, it was time to start the decontamination process. When used with clay lube, the contaminants on the paint come loose from the car and they get stuck safely into the clay, so they don't damage the clear coat. It really is a simple step, and normally it's going to take you around 30 minutes to get the job done. And it's well worth it, especially if you're going to be carrying out a polish afterwards. After the decontamination had taken place, I broke out the Hyundai polisher, and I've already made a review which I'll put in the link in the description below. I wasn't going for perfection here, I just wanted to make it look good enough as we didn't have plans to keep it much longer after using it in a few videos. I used some Glaco compound on the glass as it was heavily contaminated to the point just washing it alone wasn't going to be good enough. For the rest of the glass cleaning, I reverted back to my trusty synthetic leather and I followed it up with some microfiber glass cloths. Moving on to the tyres and bumpers, a Mile Deep kindly gave me a tyre sponge, and one thing I did notice was that this was quite a thicker consistency than the normal branded products I've seen on the market, so it did take a few attempts to get around the tyres. But in all honesty, it was starting to look great. Even my cat Leo was loving the Skoda. So over the next few weeks we will be featuring a few more products from Mile Deep, as we didn't get a chance to use every single product in this video. However, if you do like the look of any of these products featured, then you can save yourself 15% with the code EPIC15 at the checkout when you visit miledeep.com. If you really want to see the full story on how we managed to get this Skoda for the most ridiculous price on earth, go check out this video right here.